Hey, welcome back everybody. September the 6th, Monday Morning Briefing, episode number 45. Real quick, I just wanted to update you. We didn't have a Monday Morning Briefing video last week. We kind of been off of social media and stuff like that. We did put something on Instagram at the end of last week, just kind of updating everybody, let everybody know. But my family ended up getting COVID. When we got back from Waco, my wife and kids ended up going to Galveston on a kind of a last minute vacation before the kids started school and stuff, and they spent a week over there with her family, and everybody in the house ended up getting it. We don't know how they got it. They were pretty positive they got it there at the beach, because when they got back, then a few days later, 4 or 5 days later, I ended up coming down with it, so I got it from them. But everybody's doing well. Her parents did okay through it, got everything situated, and they're back on track. Claudia did well. The kids did fine through it. I ended up with just a little bit of pneumonia. Had to go to the hospital for a little short stay, just one night, and get treated there and everything. And so I feel very fortunate. I was able to get in, get treated, and get out. I know a lot of people that are battling it a lot harder than I did, and having a lot more issues with it and stuff like that. This thing hits everybody so differently that you really don't know. And so my advice is just stay as safe as possible. Do what you can. Do what you think is right to keep yourself healthy and away from this thing. And if you do get it, get treated and get to the doctor. Don't mess around with it. But yeah, I'm out, doing good. Everything's good. We just had some time off. My main deal with the, as I said in the Instagram deal, my main deal with symptom with it was a really, really bad headache. Had some fever, had some issues like that, but never had any breathing issues. And then, like I said, by the time I finally went in, because it just wasn't going away, we were nearing, I think, day 8 or 10 or somewhere around there, and it just wasn't clearing up. And so went in, and that's when they said, hey, we need to get you in here and get you on some supplemental oxygen and stuff like that, and just kind of get you over this thing. And so they did. I did, and I got out, and so been doing a lot better. I feel like I'm about 95% right now. Been in the shop, was in the shop half of last week, kind of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and this weekend been around. We did have a cow show this weekend, so I went to that. Felt good. Did well through that, and then Sunday worked in here all day as well, and so now we're back in here. I feel like I'm good to go, just still kind of taking it slow, taking it easy, trying not to overdo it, but also trying to work in some more physical activity just to kind of get my lungs back where they need to be. Like I said, I didn't have it super bad, but it was one of those deals where they were concerned, so I just want to kind of be careful. But enough of that. We got, like I said, we're back in the shop. Monday morning briefings are back on schedule, and everything that we're working on here in the shop is getting ready for fall season. So we've got Christmas coming, as we've mentioned before, and right now we're gearing up for fall, and Claudia's starting to think about decorations for the shop and all that stuff. It's still hotter than Hades down here. It still feels like middle of August. Obviously, it's only beginning of September, but in Texas it can be hot all the way till November. So we're not really feeling in the mode of a true fall season just yet, because it is so hot. In fact, I think we've got a heat index potential record today as far as heat goes. So, but we're trying to get into the swing of things as far as like getting ready for that. And I'm excited. I like the fall season. I like the holidays. I like the speed and the things going on and all the different events going on, and everybody's kind of out and about. Kids are back in school, and they're loving school. Everything's going good. So they both started a new grade, and got a first grader and a kindergartner. So they're really enjoying that. They're out of school today. Today's Monday, which is Labor Day, and so they're out of school today. So they'll be here in the shop here at some point this morning, and I'm sure we'll get some stuff done today. But then we'll probably knock off a little bit early and try to relax at the house and just kind of hang out with them some before they go back to school tomorrow, and get our September kicked off. A couple things we were working on though. Let me check my notes here, because I got a few things down just to kind of. All right, so some of the projects I've been working on that Instagram video that I did, just kind of updating everybody on what was going on, was this portfolio. When I got back in the shop, I'd come in last week just to kind of piddle and just try to do something in the shop, just because I've got to be in here every day. I just feel like I always got to come in here, even if it's just to come in, look around a little bit, and then go back to what I was doing at the house or whatever. I've just always got to check on my shop. And so I'd come in here during the week and just really wasn't feeling quite up to working on saddles or doing any repairs or any big projects. But I was working on just tooling some wallets, tooling some small stuff, something I could do that was just kind of chill, and I could kind of tool and play around, get the creative juices flowing. And then come about Thursday, I decided I was going to go ahead and tool a portfolio. I've got a few of them extra cut out as I usually do. And so I thought, well, I'll just make this and just kind of have fun with it and then get it ready to go and made for the floor, and it'll be available for sale. But this one here, we had a lot of questions on it, how I got these flowers so much lighter than the rest of the piece. And I talked about it a little bit, and I will try to do on a different project, we'll do some resisting of these flowers, a little bit more expansive in a video so that you'll know how we do this. But basically, you've got to seal whatever you want lighter in a project, whatever it is. If it's a brand, if it's your maker stamp, whatever you're going to do, you just want to seal it or resist it so that when you go to oil it, it doesn't take oil, but everything else does. That's the easiest way to explain that. What I used on this was a product called Neat Lac, which they don't actually make anymore. Tandy used to make it years ago and they quit making it. There is a company, Panhandle Leather in Amarillo, that sells a version of the Neat Lac, and it's probably the closest version that I have found, and it works out really well. It is very strong odored, it's very harsh, so you need to be sure you got some ventilation if you're going to be using that, or at least just be careful with it like anything else. It's just a strong chemical. But that stuff is more of a lacquer base, so when you put that on there, it's going to seal the leather permanently. You will not be able to oil through that. Maybe years down the road after it wears off, maybe, or if you strip it with an acetone or a deglazer, then you might be able to go ahead and do that. But for our purposes here, it works great for this. And you can also use a product called Resolene or anything like that, some type of product that is an actual sealant, a lacquer based or a more firmer based type sealant that'll seal whatever you're painting it on with. If you're using, you don't want to use tan coat, because tan coat you can actually oil through. It's not an actual sealer. It is a finish, it's a top coat, but it doesn't seal the leather permanently. So you're going to have a hard time getting this effect if you just try to use tan coat. But what I did was I just took a little cup. You're going to want to use kind of like a glass jar or a glass cup or something like that, or even a little metal cup. Don't use the little Jello shot cups that we use, because that Neat Lac in particular, Resolene won't do it, I don't think, but the Neat Lac, it'll eat that cup. So when you pick the cup up off the table, the bottom stays, it eats the plastic. So don't use those. You're going to want to use some type of glass, little jar or something like that. But you just take a paintbrush and paint that Neat Lac on wherever you want the lighter parts of your tooling pattern to be. And then you let that dry really good. I usually like to let that dry a full afternoon, something like that. Let it dry, let it cure. Don't try to rush it. And then once it's dry, either the next day or that late afternoon or something like that, then you can just oil the entire piece. When you do that, it's not going to allow oil into those areas that you painted with the finish, but it will darken everything else, and that gives you this really neat contrast. And then what I'll do too, a lot of times, just to be safe, is after I oil the project and I got the oil on there evenly, I'll take a paper towel or a soft cloth and just wipe off the areas that I painted with that finish, just to make sure that they stay, there's not a lot of excess oil sitting on top that may potentially migrate through there. Usually if it does, just let it sit till the next day. It'll all even out and it'll look good. There's not any issue with that. And then I just sealed and antiqued this with our normal antique process after that. After I got the oil the color I wanted, I just went through and sealed it with tan coat and then went through and antiqued it just like I normally do. So if you haven't seen our antique video, we do have a video showing that antique process, and you can certainly watch that to get this effect. And you can go, I recommend oiling it darker than you may normally, just so that you can see the contrast really well. If you try to do a light oil, you might as well not have resisted the flowers. So that's just kind of a little tip there. But this is going to be a portfolio. We'll try to get this finished up this week. We'll put the interiors in here. We do have a video on making a portfolio, so if you haven't seen that, it's an older video. It's probably from 2 or 3 years ago, so you can go back and find that video. We do have a pattern pack for that. Speaking of pattern packs, on some of these older ones, I've decided what I'm going to do is, instead of just offering the older ones in a printed version, which we'll slowly work those into as well. Most people already have, especially the portfolio, stuff like that. Those are really older digital patterns that we created. Most people already have those. So if we do the printed version, we do sell them to new people that just want a printed one. But most of our customers already have it, so they don't have any reason to buy that, and it's not as useful. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up coming out with like a second version. So like we'll do maybe another video too on the portfolio and do a little update changes or a couple different options. but we'll do a new pattern pack, a complete new pattern pack that's printed, and that way you have another set of tooling patterns, so that if you've already done the portfolio and you've already bought this pattern pack before, you can also get this one, which will have a whole new set of tooling patterns in there, so that now you have double the tooling patterns. So if there was 6 in the other one, now you'll have 6 new ones as well, and just kind of add on to that, because we can always add new floral patterns to these older pattern packs, and it makes it a lot more efficient, and I think it serves you a lot better, just because it'll give you a lot more options as far as the artwork goes. So that's my plan there, is hopefully get some of those going, update some of those older patterns, get some new tooling patterns out there, just so that you have something fresh. Like our shave kit, the old style shave kit video that we did, that pattern pack sells really, really well still, and I can just come up with a whole new pattern pack with all new floral patterns, because that particular project, like a shave kit, those are great projects for Christmas time, because everybody, I mean, you get dad, uncle, brother, son, whatever, you get them those shave kits for Christmas. It's really personalized, it's a really cool gift, and they're definitely going to use it. And so the more tooling patterns you've got, the more options you've got, and kind of gives you a little bit more versatility during Christmas time. Some of the other things we were working on that I worked on this weekend was just trying to come up with some new ideas. So I get in here and I brainstorm, and I just kind of do some doodles. Like, this is just a little handbag idea I kind of had rolling around in my mind, and then I just kind of trying to come up with a new style shave kit, kind of a new little toiletry bag that's kind of different, not just the bear trap style or something like that. Just trying to come up with something different. So I was just kind of hashing around and doodling out some new ideas and concepts, and I did that and ended up going 2 directions. One is I'm going to make, and we already started it, you may have seen it on my Instagram, but this piece here that we shared yesterday, I got it tooled and everything. This is going to be a very easy, very simple, little quick project video, but I think it's kind of fun. One of the deals is at our house, the coffee bar where we have our coffee maker and all that stuff, I'm bad about it, and I always get chewed out for this, is that when I make my coffee and I take my I use stevia, little sweetener, and I'll open it up, pour it in there, and I just leave the little wrapper on the counter. Drives my wife insane. So what I thought was, because there's not a trash can by the coffee bar, so I just set it on the bar, and then at the end of the day I throw them in the trash, but they're annoying her. So I thought about, this is not a new concept. I've seen a lot of people make a little waste paper basket out of leather. This used to be something very popular back whenever I was starting out. You would see a lot of guys doing these. But what I did was I came up with one that is just for the countertop. So it's going to be just about like this. It'll have just a wooden bottom that we'll put in there. We'll use small little tacks to tack the leather to the plywood, little thin wooden bottom here. You could also do that bottom out of leather and then miter stitch that bottom in there. It's a lot more involved doing it that way. We're going to keep it simple and do it quick for the video. But basically all it is a rectangle here that you would pull around, and we'll join up right there, and then we'll braid that seam, and that'll make our cylinder for our little coffee bar rubbish bin. And then we'll put the bottom in there, and then that'll be a little bin. And I think that'll look pretty cool. Our bar's kind of Western, our little coffee bar, and so I think that'll look really neat. It's got our brand on it, and that'll just sit there, and it's just something to put the little sweetener packs, your little creamer deals, whatever your little trash is, little stirs, whatever you've got. If you've got a retail store like we do, we'll probably make one here for the shop as well. Or any kind of little deal where you've got a little coffee set up for customers or people coming in. I just think it'd be something kind of eye-catchy sitting on the counter there by the coffee pot to put your trash in. So again, it's just something small, something simple. As far as the size, the way I found the size was just took a ½ pound coffee can and just used that as my size, because I felt like that's about the right size. You don't need nothing any bigger than that for your little coffee bar. You're not throwing garbage in there, you're just throwing little tidbits of trash and stuff in there. So, but that project video will hopefully be out this week. Like I said, we got this tooled yesterday. The pattern's very simple. We'll have a pattern pack. I'll do a number of different tooling patterns for this. May not be super popular with everybody, but I think it would be one of those unique gifts during Christmas time if you had somebody or a client or a customer or a family member or friend that just really loves their little coffee bar or whatever. This would also make a really neat little container for a desktop or something that, you know, in your office, or something to put pins in or whatever you want to put in there. So, but that's a real simple little project video that we've got coming out. And then I wanted to do another purse, another crossbody purse of some sort, and I've had a few different ideas of different ones and stuff. But I want to do one that's fairly simple, that has a lot of tooling space on there, because we're working on the tooling course, the course on tooling. So like I said, I've been kind of down for a couple of weeks, obviously, and so haven't really made a whole lot of progress on that. But I've gotten notes, I've got things that we've been working on. We've shot a little bit of it already, so I'm trying to stay on track with that to try to get that out by the end of the year, if not sooner. And so any project that has a lot more tooling involved in it, those I can use some of those steps and some of those clips out of there to hopefully incorporate into the course to try to help people with their overall just tooling. And so this is kind of a little purse design that I kind of came up with. It's going to be very simple construction wise, not very complicated, and this is very rough. This is just kind of how I work whenever I'm designing something that is more three-dimensional, not something kind of flat like this little trash can. That was pretty easy. I didn't really need to mock one up. But this purse, in order to get because the purse is wider at the bottom than it is at the top on the gusset, and then it's also got a little bit of a curve here on the side. And this prototype will have some adjustments made to it. But in order to get all that right, I kind of had to mock it up, and so we got our patterns made. Just kind of got them as close as I could, kind of made them where I thought they were going to be right mathematically, and then we just cut the parts out of some junky leather. You know, this is Hermano, but it's marred up, it's got scars, it's kind of wrinkly. This is stuff I wouldn't use for a project. So we cut all those pieces out and just put one together. That's the quickest way to know if your patterns are going to work. Is always remember, we've said it before and we'll always say it, but labor is more expensive than material. So material is cheaper than labor. So be sure that you're not scared to just take some junky leather that you're probably going to end up throwing away months from now anyway, because it's not good enough to use in projects, but you keep it around because you don't want to waste it and you feel bad. Use that leather for your mock-ups or for your prototypes, because it's a lot. Paper does not react when you're trying to, especially on like gussets or fitting parts and stuff. Paper does not react just like leather. So you have to be really good to be able to extrapolate paper's reaction to a curve or to a shape or to a position than if you just use leather, because the leather, this is the weight of the leather that I'm going to build this bag out of for the video. So why not use the leather, make sure that my patterns match up. As I mocked this up, I learned that my gusset was just a hair short, and that's because of the thickness of the leather, the radius that I'm using, how it glued together. And so it's a lot easier to find that out as you're kind of mocking one up or making a prototype than it is to try to do it all on paper and then spend all your time tooling, getting everything just right and going to put it together and find out that you should have added a 1/4 inch to that because that changed, you know, the thickness of the leather or whatever was going on, changed it to where, yes, mathematically you might feel like you were right, but you actually needed a little bit more material there for some reason. So that's kind of what I did here. And like I said, this thing, it'll get thrown away. It's just a prototype just to kind of see how the pattern works and everything. But basically these will fold over here and we'll have D-rings here, and that's where the strap will be. And on this little purse, my idea is that you can actually do just a little short strap to where the purse hangs more right underneath the arm, or you could do a longer strap and do it more of a crossbody type purse. It's a little bigger than our canteen purse or our round purse, so it's got a little bit more room to it. It's very simple. It won't have any kind of pockets or systems in there or anything like that. It's going to be a very simple little deal. And then I'm going to do a closure over here that'll just kind of like a leather strap that'll fold over the top. And I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do that yet, but we've gotten everything else, I think, pretty well lined out. So I've got the pattern for the gusset, which is pretty right. And we've made some adjustments to this, and I've got the body pattern. So these patterns are ready to go. So we'll start shooting that video as well, and hopefully getting that purse coming out here pretty quick, because I think that would be a really neat one that you can do a lot of tooling on. You can make it all out of chap leather if you want, turn it inside out. There's a lot of different things you can do with this style of purse that that won't be too difficult to change or alter depending on what you want. There's different things you can do to it to make it kind of personalized for you or for your customer. So I'm excited about that one. I used to never do a lot of purses. We do one every once in a while when a customer would come in and request one or something, and I just never really felt confident. But over the last few years, and with this channel and with you guys' support and help and feedback, we found that purses are actually not that difficult. They're a lot of fun. There's a lot of different ways you can go with them. There's a lot of different construction techniques that you can use in making purses and bags and different things. And I found that I'm really interested in it. I never thought I'd be interested in making bags, but I've gotten to where whether it's like I said, like a shave kit or a purse or some type of gear bag or something like that, I'm getting a lot more interested in, just because it's a little bit more challenging. It's almost like a saddle. You've got a lot of different application techniques that you can work into those that aren't available in some of the other projects that we've done in the past. More of a flat work or strap work type stuff, notebooks and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I like making bags. All right, one other thing I want to show you. This came in right after we got back from Waco, like the next week. They were all still at the beach actually. So, but somebody had sent me, and there's not really a return. There's a return address, but no name or anything like that on here. And so, I greatly appreciate this. It's really neat, but I don't know who sent it. So if you're watching this and you're the one that sent it, shoot me an email or something so I can thank you properly, because I was pretty surprised when we opened this thing up. But somebody sent me a digital leather gauge, and it's really neat. I don't know, I've never had one of these. I've never had a leather thickness gauge to where I could ensure or test, exactly how thick my leather is for consistency across a project or anything like that. I mainly just feel of it. It's like this feels right, or whatever. Pull it through the splitter now that I have a splitter until it gets right or whatever. But somebody sent me this, and it's really cool, and it'll tell you in millimeters kind of what the thickness of it is. And then I guess you can pull it down or do whatever. If you're looking for different pieces of leather or trying to finish out a project at a certain thickness, you can use that to gauge that in order to get it just right. Like I said, it does it in inches and in millimeters. I've got a lot to learn about it. I've never had one before. I've seen the little ones, and then of course they've got the long ones too for testing hides. You'll see them on, if you've seen that Herman Oak video, you'll see them using that just to gauge the thickness of their hides and stuff to make sure they're consistent. But I just wanted to quickly say thank you to whoever sent this to me. I think it's a really, really cool deal. It's got a really neat little box here, so keeping it safe in there. Like I said, unfortunately, I just don't know who sent it. They didn't put a name on here. Like I said, there's an address. It seems like it came from California. I don't know if that's where it originally came from or what, but it does have a California address on there and looks to be just a post office. So I'm not sure who sent that, but whoever it was, thank you. And if you do see this, send me an email or shoot me a DM on Instagram or something so that I can thank you, because that was really neat. And we'll definitely put that to use, and it'll hopefully help me keep things a little bit more consistent on certain projects that we work on. Another thing, real quick update too. Our booth in Waco was right next to Martin's Mix, and Justin and his wife were super nice. We got to know them a little bit, and he had given me another little jar of the Martin Mix that he's doing. He's got a new little thing he's working on, and he wanted me to try it, and I've been trying it along with just trying the regular stuff that he sent me before. If you remember, it's been a few Monday morning briefings back that they had just randomly sent me this bottle here and said, hey, give it a shot, see what you think. And like I said, I'm old school. I've kind of stuck with my ways of water and glycerin. You've seen how I slick my edges. We've got a video on that. But I've been actually really working with this stuff over the last week, just piddling in here in the shop, and like I said, getting back in the swing of things. And I really like this stuff. It seems to work really well. It doesn't stain the leather if you get it off of the edge. It may appear to right when you first oil it, if you get a big old blob of it kind of get off your edge. But if you let it sit, like I said, oil your project, pretend like you don't see it, you come back 20 minutes later, it's gone. So it really is a really cool product, and it does slick edges really well. I was really surprised because I've used a lot of different things over the years, just trying to find out what the best edge is, what the best deal, and I've always gone back to the glycerin water. That's just always been my deal. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to quit doing that, because that's how I do my edges. But I have been using this. I keep a little cup of it over there on my bench, and I've been using it every chance I get, and it really does slick quickly. It burnishes well. It does a good job, and then when it's dry, it's a nice, hard, smooth finish on your edge, and then you can dye through that. Because that was what I was worried about, because I dye after my edges are slicked. I do not dye them and then slick them. And I was worried it wouldn't do that, but I've mentioned it before, but the more I've used it, it definitely does it. Like you just use this as your water basically, slick your edges, let them dry, go back through, dye them. They work great. So if you haven't, you may give them a call and get you a little bottle of this stuff that he sells. He sells this version here, and then I think he also sells these little jars here. And man, just buy you one of these and give it a shot. It really does work good. I really do like it. And I'm gonna continue working it more and more into my stuff, just because it is so much faster. Like you put it on there and you go to slicking, and I mean it slicks super quick. And it's just, you know, with the glycerin and water, you got a couple little different things you got to do before you finally start getting that edge the way you want it. And so I'm gonna continue experimenting with it. But Martin's Mix, get you some and try it. martinsmix.com. And just give them a shot and see what you think about them. I don't think it's very expensive. It's a good quality product. And he's got a couple new little versions of this that he's coming out with that incorporate some color to it and stuff like that. So he's experimenting with that. So give that a shot and check it out. So in our last Monday morning video, I had mentioned that I moved my tooling bench over by that window. And so we moved it from my work area to the window over there. Like I said, I'm trying to make a little bit of room, because I think I'm going to buy a Class 26 this year. And so I want it over here by my work area, because that's kind of where I have my sewing machines. But I took Chuck Storms, if you remember that Lost Trade episode where we interviewed Chuck Storms, he had mentioned about his architect telling him about lighting and stuff like that and how to position his tooling bench. So I went ahead and tried it, and I moved it over there, and I talked about it in that video. And I've been using it over there like that, and it's working good. I think the way my building is positioned and the way the sun kind of casts around, I've definitely got more light, but I still don't have enough. So I'm doing research now on which lights are best, because I've bought the little gooseneck desk lamps and all these other little things that they're okay, but they just don't work really well, and then they break and they're always moving, and they look ugly for one. And so I'm trying to figure out the best light for over there, but because where I'm at there, I don't have a way of putting something just above the bench, which I think tends to cast too much shadow anyway. So I'm going to be researching and doing some more looking around and trying to find the proper lights. He had mentioned a brand of light on the podcast, but I wasn't able to find any of those online. I haven't done any real extensive research, but I was looking around and found companies and stuff like that, but couldn't find the exact light that he was talking about. But just a little update on that bench. It does work. So if you've got a window in your shop and you're wanting to get a lot better lighting on your tooling bench, because a tooling bench is the hardest thing to light because your hands are over what you're tooling on, so casting shadow is always an issue, and it can really start to strain your eyes. I'm 42 years old now. I'm finally starting to get a little eye fatigue at the end of the day, to where I know it's coming from the poor lighting, and so I want to get ahead of that before I end up having more trouble and straining my eyes to the point of needing, lenses and stuff to try to be able to do my work. So so lighting is very important. But if you have a window in your shop, you may try to position your tooling bench to where it's perpendicular to that window, so that the light can cast all the way across your bench. His point of view in the podcast was that you need to be able to sit on either side of that bench, because if you're carving, the light's coming in from one direction, then you can go to the other side, and when you're tooling, light's coming in from the other direction. Just play with that. The main thing is, be sure you've got enough lighting, especially at the tooling bench. I don't think at your workbench or just around the shop in general is as important, but at the tooling bench, you're doing small focus and real close focus on small ornate things that over time you can really strain your eyes and really cause some issues. Like I said, I currently don't have any vision issues, but I do have eye fatigue at the end of the day, where my eyes really start to dry out and really bother me, and I know it's because of the lighting in the shop. And so I'm going to continue trying to research that and develop a system that is the best lighting for a tooling bench that I possibly can, that works good for me, and then I'll hopefully pass that on to you, and maybe it'll help you. in your lighting situation. I do know that one of the biggest things that I found that's the hardest to light, or hardest thing to deal with lighting a tooling bench, is if you have low ceilings. And by low ceilings, I mean like 8 foot, like normal size ceilings. It seems like it's really hard to get enough light coming in, especially if your tooling bench is in a corner or off on a side there where you don't have any natural light coming into there. In here we've got tall ceilings. I think these are 12 foot. We've got plenty of room, for light moving around. It's very lit in here. It seems like it's very lit, but still when you get down on the bench and you're tooling, you can see the shadows and they start to affect you. So that's something that I'm working on. But I'll be working on that, and as soon as more information I get and stuff like that, I'll pass on to you, and that way hopefully you can get your tooling bench lit up just right so that your eyes can handle it and you don't have any kind of issues. And if you already have some vision issues and stuff like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about, trying to fight those shadows and stuff. And it's just really a pain in the butt. And also for us when we're filming, when I'm shooting a video of tooling and stuff, we're shooting this video for the tooling course, it's very important that I have all the shadow out of that, because you need to be able to see in the video what I'm doing, and if my hands are casting shadow, it can really pose a problem. So it's just kind of annoying. So we're going to be working on that and trying to get that wrapped up and fixed up. And speaking of lost trade, we've been really obviously tied up with some other things going on, but now that we're done with that, I'm trying to get everybody scheduled up and get us back on track to get some new episodes out. We have been getting a lot of feedback here lately about people that just found the podcast and stuff, and so we're super excited about that. And I'm also kind of frustrated because it's been 3-4 weeks since I've actually posted another episode with Waco and then this COVID thing and stuff, and so kind of disappointed in my scheduling ability here, but hopefully we'll get back on track here coming through the fall. I've reached out to a bunch of people. I've got some really cool ones. I've got a couple artists that are painters that have agreed to come on. It's just a matter of getting back in touch with them and getting them to kind of pin down a day when we can hop on Zoom and get that interview done. So we've got a lot of them that we want to get scheduled up and get back on track. But we really appreciate the feedback. I mean, we've got people that have just found us, that have started with like Aaron's episode number 1, and then they're working their way through all of them and listening to them, and we see them share our stuff on social media and stuff like that. So it's really good. I still haven't set up an Instagram account for Lost Trade or any kind of social media for Lost Trade or anything like that. Like I said, it's just really a passion project for me and the producer, and we've talked about it, and I just haven't put any time into it. But if that's something you want, let us know. Like if you think you'd like to see another social media, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I need to have another platform to monitor, just because with what we've already got, it's really hard to keep up with all the postings and the comments and DMs and stuff like that. And I fail a lot on those deals. So I don't know that that's going to be something that we'll do. But if you really think, hey, yeah, we want to see a Facebook page or an Instagram page or something for Lost Trade, then let us know. Right now, we're just having fun with it, throwing some episodes up there when we can. It's just, like I said, completely a passion project, just a fun little thing for him and I to mess with. And plus, we get to interview some cool folks. I mean, a lot of these guys, I mean, it's just an honor to be able to sit down and visit with them and talk with them about how they got started, hear their story. It's just a really neat deal for me to get an opportunity to do that with some of these guys. And so we're really just using it for that reason right there, mainly, and just archive all these interviews, and that way we can all go back and be inspired and learn and hear from some of the folks that are out there. But we'll get going back on that. We'll get the Lost Trade back up and going, and hopefully we'll have some new episodes here pretty quick. That's really all I got for you today. We're going to get back at it. Like I said, it's Labor Day. You'll be seeing this on Tuesday, and we're just going to hit it hard this week and try to get as much done, get back in the swing of things fully, and get back on our saddles and get these project videos going and some other little tip videos and stuff like that. It's fall, kids are in school, Christmas is coming. We all got to focus. Let's get down to it. Let's all focus in the shop. Have a great week. Enjoy yourself, and be sure to sign up for the Leathercraft newsletter if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week in the Monday Morning Briefing.